What if the face you trust most, the leader of your country, suddenly said something shocking, but it wasn't really him? The video appeared without warning. It looked ordinary enough, grainy at first, then sharpening into the familiar image of Ibrahim Traoré, the young captain turned president of Burkina Faso. There he was, seated at a polished wooden desk, the nation's flag behind him, his military uniform crisp, his voice calm. On screen, he seemed to be addressing not only his country but the entire world. His words? Explosive. He announced a massive $14 billion grain deal with India. He spoke boldly about global politics, even criticizing Donald Trump by name. For millions, scrolling through their phones, the clip was electrifying. Within hours, it was shared across WhatsApp groups, Facebook timelines, and X feeds. Some called it a bold step for Africa's youngest leader. Others called it reckless. But then a darker question began to rise. Was it even real? Because something about the video was off. The lips moved just slightly out of sync. The expressions felt mechanical, almost too perfect. A strange flicker in the eyes betrayed an unsettling truth. This wasn't a presidential address at all. It was an illusion. A fabrication, a deep fake. The power of a fake face. For those who don't live in the world of political storms, the idea of a fake video might seem trivial. But pause for a moment and think about it. A deep fake is not just a harmless internet prank. It is a weapon. A digital ghost wearing the skin of a leader, designed to confuse, to provoke, to manipulate. In this case, the Ministry of External Affairs in India quickly dismissed the video as fake. Social media platforms scrambled to flag it. But not before. It had already sown seeds of doubt. Not before conversations in dusty markets and crowded buses turned heated. Did Traoré really say that? Could this be the start of something bigger? This is the real danger of deepfakes. Not just the lies they spread, but the doubt they leave behind. A dangerous precedent. This isn't the first time the world has been fooled. In 2022, as Russian troops pressed deeper into Ukraine, a strange video surfaced online. It showed President Volodymyr Zelensky appearing tired, defeated. He urged his soldiers to lay down their arms and surrender. For a brief, chilling moment, the possibility seemed real. What if Ukraine's own president had abandoned the fight? The video was a deep fake, sloppy by today's standards, but still dangerous enough to rattle morale in the middle of a war or take the United States. Years ago, a viral clip of former President Barack Obama seemed to show him saying things he never said. Profane, out of character, shocking. That video was created by researchers to prove a point. If they could fake Obama's words so convincingly, imagine what malicious actors could do. And then there are the lighter cases, the parodies, the comedy sketches, the internet memes. Hollywood actor's face swapped onto a dancer, a movie star's voice cloned to sing an unfamiliar tune. They may draw laughter, but beneath the humor lies something unsettling. Every laugh normalizes the technology. Every parody makes the weapon more acceptable. And once a weapon becomes acceptable, how long before it's used for destruction? Truth on trial. Now imagine you are a citizen of Burkina Faso. You live in a nation at war with insurgents, where rumors already spread faster than facts. You turn on your phone and see your president speaking about billion-dollar deals and global alliances. Do you believe it? Do you question it? Or do you simply share it, adding fuel to the wildfire of misinformation? The danger of deepfakes is not only that they spread lies, it's that they poison the well of truth itself. Even when a video is real, people might dismiss it as fake. Even when a leader speaks the truth, skeptics might say, that's just AI. In this new world, certainty crumbles, trust fractures. And without trust, what is left between a leader and his people? The invisible battlefield. Think about it. Wars used to be fought with guns, tanks, and planes. Today, some of the fiercest battles take place on the invisible fields of information. A single fake video can cause panic in markets, riots in the streets, or even shifts in international alliances. Imagine if a deep fake showed a president declaring war, or promising to resign, or confessing to corruption. How long would it take? Before chaos erupted, minutes, hours. And here lies the true horror. Technology is advancing faster than regulation, faster than law, faster than truth itself can keep up. If a 30-second clip can fool thousands today, what happens tomorrow when it fools millions? When it fools you? This is no longer a battle for power. It's a battle for reality itself. The suspense builds, so when the video of Ibrahim Traoré went viral, the question was no longer just, did he say those words? It became something much darker. If this can happen today, what's coming? Tomorrow? Because if a young African president can be cloned and manipulated on screen, who's next? A global superpower? A United Nations official? A religious leader whose words could spark riots or wars? The viral storm surrounding Traoré wasn't just about Burkina Faso. It was a warning shot to the entire world, and yet this was only the beginning. Because while deepfakes may distort reality, what followed next would prove even more explosive. Real decisions, real laws, and real consequences that shook Burkina Faso to its core. Sometimes a single signature on paper can divide a nation. Sometimes it can echo far beyond its borders. On September 2, 2025, the young captain-turned-president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré, set his pen to a document that would ignite both celebration and outrage. The law criminalized what the government called the promotion of homosexuality, carrying sentences of up to 5 years in prison and heavy fines. For some, it was the bold defense of cultural values against what they saw as foreign influence. For others, it was the moment Burkina Faso turned away from the principles of freedom, walking instead into the shadows of authoritarian rule. But why would a leader barely 3 years into his rule risk so much on a law so controversial? Was it conviction, calculation, or desperation? Sometimes the most dangerous weapons aren't guns or tanks. They're laws written in ink. A leader. Under pressure. To understand the gamble, you must picture the scene. Ouagadougou, the capital, is a city alive with contradictions. On one street, young people sip sweet tea and stream TikTok videos on cracked smartphones. Just blocks away, markets buzz with merchants selling millet, shea butter, and hand-woven cloth. But beneath this daily rhythm lies a nation exhausted by insurgency, haunted by displacement, and suspicious of outside powers. Traoré came to power promising to protect his people where others had failed. He spoke of sovereignty, of Pan-African pride, of breaking free from what he called the chains of Western dominance. And for many, that message resonated. But promises of security are fragile. Attacks still haunt the countryside, villages still mourn their dead. Every leader, especially a young one, needs to show strength, not only on the battlefield, but in the very laws that shape a nation. And so, the new legislation became more than a legal decree. It became a statement, a declaration to the world. Burkina Faso will define itself on its own terms. But strength can inspire unity or ignite division. Which one would this law bring? The gamble of identity supporters rallied to the new law, arguing that it upheld traditional African values against what they described as an imported agenda. In dusty town squares, elders nodded in approval, telling journalists that this was the real Africa speaking. Religious leaders praised Traoré as a defender of morality. For these supporters, the law was not just about sexuality, it was about identity. But identity is a double-edged sword. In championing tradition, Traoré risked alienating the global community. Human rights groups condemned the law immediately, calling it a violation of basic freedoms. Foreign governments hinted at sanctions, aid suspensions, and diplomatic isolation. And in the modern world, isolation can be as deadly as war. Here lies the gamble. Was Traoré protecting his people's values, Or was he sacrificing international support in exchange for domestic applause? Could Burkina Faso afford to push away the very partners it might need in its fight against terror? Identity can be a shield, but sometimes that shield turns into a cage, a pattern. Across the continent, to see the stakes clearly, you only need to look beyond Burkina Faso's borders. In Uganda, a sweeping anti-LGBT law drew global headlines in 2023, sparking protests, aid cuts, and threats of sanctions. Ghana and Nigeria have wrestled with similar debates. Across Africa, leaders find themselves balancing between two worlds, the demands of a conservative home audience and the expectations of a global community that increasingly ties aid and investment to human rights. By stepping into this fire, Traoré was not only making a national decision, he was joining a continental storm. But unlike older, more seasoned presidents, Traoré's youth and revolutionary image meant the world was watching even more closely. Would he be remembered as a cultural defender or as another strongman tightening his grip through divisive laws? Sometimes leaders don't just write laws. They write the way history will remember them. The human cost behind the headlines. The impact is far more personal. Picture a young Burkina Faso student in Ouagadougou, scrolling through their phone, watching debates unfold online. One day they feel safe enough to laugh with friends, to dream about the future. The next, they wonder if their very existence has been branded criminal. Imagine the fear, the silence, the choice to vanish into the background rather than risk prison or exile. Every law has faces behind it. Faces often unseen in the news clips, but faces that carry the weight of its consequences. And sometimes, the true story of a nation is written not in speeches, but in the quiet suffering of its people. A calculated move or a dangerous misstep. For Traoré, the timing was critical. A leader surrounded by both supporters and skeptics needed to reinforce his legitimacy. A nation battered by war needed distractions from daily tragedy. And a world increasingly skeptical of military juntas needed proof that Burkina Faso was charting its own course. But history reminds us that laws born in times of crisis can shape nations long after the crisis has passed. What seems like strength today can become shackles tomorrow. And the true measure of a gamble is not the applause in the moment. It is the cost when the applause fades. Because applause is loud today, but silence tomorrow can be deafening. The cliffhanger. As the ink dried on that document, Burkina Faso entered uncharted territory. Supporters celebrated, critics warned of doom, and the world waited to see the fallout. Would Traoré's law cement his image as a fearless defender of tradition? Or would it ignite a backlash that threatened his fragile hold on power? One thing was certain. This was not the end of the story. Because even as debate raged in Parliament, halls and village squares, whispers began to spread of something larger. A shift in alliances, a turning of Burkina Faso's gaze toward new global partners. And that turn would change everything.